director of Nandini Consultancy Center based in Chennai, in India. In recent time, there have been a number of animated discussions across the world in various national and international forums about the need and desirability of using hydrogen as an eco-friendly fuel and as an eco-friendly feedstock to substitute fossil fuels and petroleum resources so that the world can reach the target of zero emission in the foreseeable future. Certainly, there have been a lot of enthusiasm with regard to the prospects for hydrogen energy in the coming years. Many people seem to believe that the ultimate solution to overcome the threat of climate crisis in the world is to resort to the use of hydrogen by generating hydrogen in a massive manner. These objectives are laudable, good, and should be welcomed. At the same time, there are skeptics who think that talk about use of hydrogen in a massive way to overcome the global climate crisis is a little premature, since the ground realities show that there are many economic and technological hurdles in the way. While even we justify the enthusiasts who want hydrogen in a big way, it is necessary to recognize that the skeptics also have a point of view in their favor. Now, what is hydrogen? Certainly, hydrogen is an eco-friendly fuel. Hydrogen can substitute fossil resources such as coal, natural gas, crude oil in the coming years, so that the feasibility of using hydrogen in a big way to eliminate the use of fossil fuels can be achieved. As far as the eco-friendliness of hydrogen for use as fuel, there is no disagreement anywhere. At the same time, the question is, can hydrogen replace the petroleum resources as a feedstock? Based on crude oil, natural gas, and coal, there are many petrochemicals made today, such as propylene, ethylene, xylene, toluene, and so on, which are all very strong building blocks based on which several products and polymer products are being made across the world. While hydrogen can be used as a feedstock for some applications, certainly it cannot be used to produce basic building blocks like ethylene and propylene, which are now being produced in a big way. Therefore, the usability of hydrogen to substitute petroleum resources as a fuel is in order. But certainly, the usability of hydrogen to substitute petroleum resources as a feedstock is very limited in scope. It is better we recognize this before proceeding further. Now, what is hydrogen? Depending upon the way that the hydrogen is being produced, it is categorized into gray hydrogen, or brown hydrogen, or blue hydrogen, or green hydrogen. Internationally today, most of the hydrogen is produced by steam reforming methane, that is natural gas. In the process of steam reforming the methane, carbon dioxide comes out. Carbon dioxide, as we all know, it's a global warming gas, and very need for the global emission to be free means that the carbon dioxide generation has been avoided to all extent. Therefore, production of hydrogen from fossil fuels or from natural gas cannot be considered as an eco-friendly way. Hydrogen that is produced from crude oil or natural gas is called gray hydrogen, where carbon dioxide is being produced. It is not an eco-friendly way of producing hydrogen. When hydrogen is produced from coal, it is called brown hydrogen. In the process, massive quantity of the carbon dioxide, the global warming gas, is evolved. Therefore, the production of hydrogen from coal, which is known as brown hydrogen, is also not an eco-friendly way. If hydrogen were to be produced from crude oil or natural gas or coal, And in the process, the carbon dioxide generated is caught comfortably and stored suitably under the soil. Then it is called blue hydrogen. But the feasibility of catching carbon dioxide and storing carbon dioxide under the soil is yet to be conclusively established in an economical way. So that also we seem to be far away from the day of realizing successful deployment of carbon dioxide under the soil. So the only way of producing eco-friendly hydrogen is to produce hydrogen known as green hydrogen by electrolysis of water. This is the ideal method of doing it. But today, unfortunately, most of the hydrogen produced in the world today is not by electrolysis of water. That is, it is not green hydrogen, but it is produced from crude oil, natural gas, or coal, which means it is a gray hydrogen or a brown hydrogen. So the production of hydrogen as a green hydrogen from electrolysis water is the ideal method for producing eco-friendly hydrogen. But then, is it possible to produce such green hydrogen in a massive way to meet the requirement of the world? This is the biggest problem. It's $1 million question. Now, what is happening here is when hydrogen is produced by electrolysis of water, that is by splitting water, massive quantity of power is required. 55 kWh of power is required for generating 1 kilogram of hydrogen. 10 megawatt of electrolyzer capacity will yield just 1.5 ton per day of hydrogen. That means the cost of the production of hydrogen, green hydrogen, by electrolysis of water is going to be much higher than production cost of the conventional hydrogen from crude oil, coal, or natural gas. So as on today, production of green hydrogen by electrolysis of water is a very uneconomical way of producing it. The world cannot afford to buy green hydrogen at such a high cost. Now, not only that, the efficiency of the electrolyzer is also need to be very much highly improved. This is the one question that is now being, thought about and being discussed across the world. The question is how to reduce the cost of production of green hydrogen by electrolysis of water. We will come to this a bit later. Now, second question is, for the electrolysis of water, it requires power. I told you power requirement is very high. 55 kWh of power is required for 1 kilogram of hydrogen. Where is the power going to come from? There are a number of organizations today, including multinational companies, who claim that they are producing green hydrogen. But the ground reality is they are really not green hydrogen. Whereas they produce hydrogen by electrolysis of water, the power required for the electrolysis of water is being supplied by power produced from fossil fuel, such as crude oil, natural gas, or coal. Thermal power stations supply power for electrolysis of water. Then in that case, obviously, this is not a green hydrogen. If it is called as a green hydrogen, it's a misnomer. This is a green hydrogen produced in an unfriendly way by using thermal power, which means thermal power generates carbon dioxide. So this is not the ideal way of doing it. So the ideal way of producing green hydrogen is to supply the power required for electrolysis of water by renewable sources, such as wind power or solar power or hydropower. Then here is the problem. The problem is the solar power, wind power, hydropower are not available throughout the year in the same way. They are undependable, they are seasonal, and weather depending on the weather factors, the production changes. Further, the capacity utilization of renewable power plant is just around 20%, as against around 60% for coal or fuel-based thermal power plants. In the case of nuclear power plants, the capacity utilization could be much higher. Nuclear power is an eco-friendly power. So the power supplied from nuclear power plant for electrolysis of water is an ideal method. But then generating massive quantity of nuclear power for the electrolysis of water has also become very difficult because the cost of investments required in nuclear power plant, as well as the public perception that nuclear power is not safe enough. As a matter of fact, some countries like Germany have decided not to set up any nuclear plants anytime in the future. So given this fact, the production of green hydrogen by in cost-effective way is becoming a big question mark. Now, even as we are thinking on this, how are we going to make green hydrogen? In case we are not able to make green hydrogen in an eco-friendly way, in an economical way in the coming years, then how are we going to use hydrogen to get zero emission in the world? That is the number one question that has to be answered, that cannot be ignored at any cost. Now, the green hydrogen requires renewable power. Renewable power is not available. It requires high requirement of power as much as 55 kWh for a kilogram of hydrogen, which is very expensive. Both these problems have to be sorted out before we proceed further. Now, what is the world doing now? The world is now developing new electrolyzer technologies. Now, there are a number of development work underway. For example, proton exchange membrane, which is called PEM, anode exchange membrane, which is called AEM, high temperature reactors, which is called HTR, production of hydrogen from biomass, production of hydrogen from sunshine, etc. All these are in a development stage. The technology have not been perfected, or technology have not been proved successfully in a commercial scale plant, and the days are not near when such alternate technologies are going to be evolved adequately well for commercial exploitation in a massive manner. Now, these ground realities have to be realized. Now, we are talking everywhere about the production of hydrogen to replace the fossil fuel and assume or imagine in a visual way that we have a solution to overcome the world climate crisis. We do not have a solution right now. The solution is being discussed in debating forums, but it is not there in the practice. It is high time that we realize the ground reality. Unfortunately, in several discussions, in government decisions, and media discussions and all this, these inadequacies of the green hydrogen power is not being discussed adequately well. So the public are being misled. Common men, innocent people are being misled as if thinking that a solution has been found to overcome the world climate crisis. It has not been done. Several governments, world governments, are now talking about long-term plans in a weak foundation. They are planning for big hydrogen projects. Okay, do this. But the basic ground reality is that green hydrogen production in an eco-friendly way, in an economical way, in a cost-optimized way is not there. That means, are we working out plan in a vacuum? Are you working out plan in a weak foundation? I will give you an example. For example, the government of India has now launched what they call as National Hydrogen Mission. The objectives are very laudable, very impressive in a conference hall and a seminar proceedings. But then government of India has also decided that they will make it mandatory for refineries, fertilizer units to at least use part of the green hydrogen in their process. Then where is the green hydrogen? When you don't have green hydrogen, when it is not clear as when we are going to get the green hydrogen, we are not sure about the date when commercially exploitable, economic way and eco-friendly way green hydrogen is going to be available. What is the point in launching National Hydrogen Mission? It is only satisfying our anxiety. It is wishful thinking. Is it planning in vacuum? We are also talking about green steel, where hydrogen would be used for production of steel. Good enough. But then that hydrogen will not be green hydrogen. It is going to be produced from natural gas by methane, by steam reforming of methane. Then this is not an eco-friendly way. So the net result today is thinking that hydrogen would be the be-all and end-all to find a solution for the global climate crisis is premature, and it is wishful thinking. And night time, the world realizes the ground realities and works out its alternate action plans to achieve zero emission in the world in a judicial, pragmatic, and reasonable way. Thank you very much.